For more than a decade, I thought that I'm learning self-defense. My Aikido instructor said so, my Wing Chun instructor said so, even my karate friends were saying the same. After I tried sparring with an MMA fighter, all these claims quickly fell apart. But soon after, I realized that even MMA fighters are not training self-defense. This became clear to me when I learned about Iain Abernathy's Martial Map. Till this day, it is the best martial arts model I ever came across. It answered so many questions about martial arts, fighting, and self-defense. It also removed a lot of confusion. Iain Abernathy is well known and respected as a self-defense expert. What makes his story unique is that he started out with traditional karate. He too realized that his martial art doesn't have all the answers. He then went on a journey in which he discovered the difference between martial arts, self-protection, and fighting. He then presented his discoveries in what he calls the Martial Map. It is a Venn diagram featuring 3 circles: martial arts, fighting, and self-protection. The 3 circles interact and relate to each other. What's more important is that they also have their separate areas. As Iain puts it himself, many martial arts instructors see martial arts, fighting, and self-protection as being one and the same, with all distinctions between them being completely lost. Personally, I think this lack of clarity to be highly problematic, and it is arguably the biggest problem we face today. I couldn't agree more. He then continues. We train most effectively when we clearly define the objective of that training. However, it is my view that most practitioners and instructors are unclear what they are training for. That uncertainty leads to ineffective and unfocused training. For example, many martial arts schools think that they are teaching people to be good at fighting. They also think and claim that they are teaching self-defense. What's closer to the truth is that martial arts are first of all teaching martial arts. Emphasis on the arts. In most martial arts, there's a lot of stylized and traditional choreography. There are many movements and techniques that you will never use in a fight. Of course, these schools and teachers explain that somehow these movements will come in handy in a fight. But in truth, these are more justifications than real explanations. I know that since I used to do the same. When I started Aikido, I wasn't sure about many of the techniques myself. I just couldn't see them working in a fight. That's when my instructors told me elaborate explanations of how these movements would work. These techniques will spontaneously kick in once you will be attacked. They never did. Yet I learned to believe in these, what I now call justifications, and I passed them on to my students. Now, it is not to say that martial arts and fighting has nothing to do with each other. That is what's represented in the Venn diagram as number 6. The relationship between martial arts and fighting. Some of the moves you will learn in martial arts will come in handy in fighting. It may be a kick, a punch, or footwork. It may be your developed coordination or reflexes. But as the Venn diagram also represents, a lot of what you will learn in martial arts will not make you into a better fighter. That's why we don't see traditional martial artists win against boxers or MMA fighters. Boxers, MMA fighters, and other combat sports practitioners spend most of their time fighting. They become really good at it. Yet if they step on a traditional martial arts mat, they don't suddenly become good at karate or Wing Chun. Same way, a karate guy doesn't perform well in his first sparring with a boxer. In other words, you become good at exactly at what you're training. Unfortunately, fighters aren't immune to this confusion either. Both fighters and martial artists also tend to confuse fighting and self-defense. As Iain explains, 2 guys fighting outside a bar is not self-defense. A consensual fight is not self-defense. Self-defense is when an attacker is trying to attack an unwilling person. There's usually no squaring up. There's usually no announcement. There are no rules. It may involve a surprise attack. It may involve weapons. It may involve many things that fighters don't train. Of course, fighters will be much better at kicking ass of an unannounced attacker. That's number 5 and 7. But what both martial artists and fighters are not taught is, for example, how to best run away. Many martial arts schools do give lip service to this, but few schools actually teach it. When is it best to run away? How to do it? Have you ever practiced running away on a mat? If you didn't, how can you be sure that you'll be good at it if you'll ever need to do it? This is where we are coming to the green part of the Venn diagram. That's self-protection. As Iain points out, self-protection is much more than just how to get out of a headlock. It's even more than knowing how to run away from an attack. It's learning how to spot a predator, how to de-escalate, how to know what security system to get at home, how to safely drive a car. It's an endless field. It's also something that you will never learn in most MMA or karate schools. If you're interested to learn more about the martial map, I highly recommend listening to Iain Abernathy's free podcast about it. I'll leave a link to it at the top of the comments. I also have a recorded talk together with me and Iain, where we discuss why martial arts instructors are the worst self-defense teachers. If you want to see our discussion, click on this box right here.